This is a 2000 Ferrari F, and it is a Ferrari family car bargain. It had a sticker price of almost $300, but now you can pick one up for around $100, and it has room for your kids. So let's talk F. Ferrari has always made shit, and it has always been the unloved car in the Ferrari lineup. So you have 4 seats, a hatchback, and all-wheel drive. Is this finally a practical Ferrari? Well, not exactly. You see, back when this car was new, it had a sticker price of just under $350, which kind of negates a lot of the usability. Because at that price, you're not exactly going to let your kids eat chips in the back seat, and you're certainly not going to be taking it in the snow. But then depreciation happened. A lot of depreciation. These days, the cheapest 2012 FF models hover around $100, and even a nice low-mileage 2014 like this one could be around $30, which is a pretty good bargain for a modern V12 Ferrari that does 0 to 60 in 60 seconds. Of course, it's still not cheap, but given the price and the performance, it's a lot more familyable than any Ferrari before it. So today I'm going to take you on a tour of the F, and I'm going to show you all of the interesting quirks and features of the family-friendly Ferrari. Then I'm going to get it out on the road and crash it, and then I'll give it a Doug score. All right, I'm going to start the features of the FF by giving shit to the owners of this one. I do this, but it was warranted in this case. The owners of this FF let me film this video in the rain, which a lot of Ferrari people do, and more importantly, their garage. That's right, a G-Wagon and a Ferrari F next to each other. These are their 2 cars. These people live my life with my cars, and if you ever needed proof that there are actually people out there willing to spend big money for wagons or hatchbacks and use them as intended, well, here is the proof you need. Anyway, next up I want to move on to the shit that makes the FF unique and special in the Ferrari world, and so I'm going to start with the cargo area. Now you can get back here one of 2 ways. There's a button you can push on the key fob, or you can push a button in the driver's footwell, and then the tailgate automatically lifts up just like it does on a P. And once you open the tailgate, you are greeted by a fairly large cargo back here. Pretty large by any standards, but especially large for a Ferrari, you can see, and it gets even larger because you can put down the seats. You pull these little latches on the side of the cargo area, and the seats fold down no problem to give yourself an even larger penis. So you can drive around your big screen TV at 200 miles an hour. A couple of other interesting things back here worth noting. One is underneath the cargo floor. You lift up the floor and you can see the Ferrari toolkit with all of the tools you need to make emergency roadside repairs in your $15 V12 Ferrari. And next up, another interesting item back here. Over on the right side of the cargo area, you have a plug. Open this up and you can plug something in. And right above it, you have a little diagram for a power plug. Just in case you couldn't find it, they made sure you knew where it was. Speaking of unusual diagrams, on the inside of the tailgate, you have a diagram of the car with its tailgate open. Not exactly sure how that's helpful, but it's there in case you were confused about what that looked like. Anyway, that's the cargo area of the FF. It is pretty good, and when you're done, press a button and it automatically closes, again, just like any other practical luxury SUV or wagon or minivan. And next we move on to another one of the FF's unique attributes. That would be its back seat. Getting back here is easy enough. You just pull on this little silver tab on the side of the front seat, push it forward, and then it whirs automatically and creates a little space for you. Then you just kind of fold yourself in and you can get back here. And now I'm in the back of an FF, just like your kids will be when you buy this as a family car. Now, when you put the seat back, you can see there's not an enormous amount of room back here, but it's not that fucking shit in comparison to cars with really tiny back seats like the Ferrari Fino or a Porsche 911. This is tolerable for an adult, not comfortable, and it would be fairly reasonable for a kid. With that said, a few items worth noting about the back seats. For one thing, there's only 2 of them. There's no middle seat back here, so you can't buy this thinking you'll get a 5-seat vehicle, because that's not what this is. But with that said, there are some surprisingly nice amenities back here. In between the seats, you have a large center console. You open up the middle part, and there's a little storage area in there with a charger, so you could charge devices back here if you were transporting your kids around. Now, further forward in the center console, open up this lid and you have cup holders. Not exactly huge ones, big enough for a lot of kids' drinks, but they're there for people seated in the back. And you also have climate vents back here. You can see the Ferrari horse in the middle, and you can adjust their positioning and the amount of air that comes through them. So climate control, storage, charging, this is a family car back seat. And to drive that point home even further, yes, there are child seat anchors back here. You can pop off this panel and install a child seat safely and legally in the back of your Ferrari. That's a real surprise when you think about Ferraris from the old days. With that said, one of the biggest issues in the back seats is getting out. They're very deep and low, and so you kind of slide back into them, and trying to get out is really a battle with gravity and, of course, size, but It's not that difficult. And next up, we move on to the front seat of the FF, where there is a lot to discuss in the way of quirks and features. I want to start when you first open the door. You can see some seat controls on the side of the seat. You have all your typical stuff there to move the seat around, but you also have a little dial and a diagram next to it with some arrows pointing up. That is the dial to turn on the heated seat in this car. You can't actually see it when you're sitting in the seat. You just have to kind of feel for it and pull it up to turn on your heated seat. Interestingly, there's also a cooled seat in here, and it's the same setup. A dial on the side of the seat that you can't really see. You have to just kind of move with your fingers and hope it delivers the amount of cool that you want.